Here we go. The moment you have all been waiting for. We are in strategy selection. I know that you want to jump to this. I know that you're like itching to get here. But if you have genuinely dove into the work in diagnosis and pilot, I commend you. It's not easy work. But again, I want it to feel like I'm coaching you through this process and really supporting you to dig deep to extract those early things that are actually going to help you get here. And you're going to see that there's not much here if you haven't done the work in the first two modules. So, okay, let's dive in. I want you to start with, again, this guiding question of what's the clearest version of your voice? Like, what does that sound like? What does that look like? What is the takeaway? However you are understanding this question with all of the context of the previous work in mind, think about that. Think about that piece. Full strategy selection mode. I want you to also, if you have all of your documents in front of you, right? Like your storyboard, your reflection notes, like you want to have all of that very visible when you get to this moment. So if you need to pause and go gather all of those things, the feedback that you got, the pictures of the mapping, it is going to help you go into this. So starting with this quick prompt of, I want you to start with selecting a goal. What would unlock the most momentum for me? Like, again, thinking about your founder voice, your leadership voice. Most credibility, most, largest audience, biggest deal flow. What is that big picture goal that you have for yourself? And it doesn't have to be, you can kind of paint a picture of what this world would look like and then select one goal out of that. And then I want you to think of these founder pillars. If you're used to kind of creating content, you have your content pillars and things that you put out into the world, but these are really your founder, your leadership pillars, things that define your leadership. These are things that do not change. How do you make sure that these come through in every interaction, right? When thinking about those stakeholder groups, these 3 to 5 core themes really ensure, okay, this is who I am in every room. This is the person that I'm bringing to the stage in every room, no matter what, because this is core to who I am. And again, you'll hear that this piece, when you're hearing them as pillars, is very different than what's the tone you're bringing, what's the core message. This is what is central to who you are as a person. Then you're going to revisit that storyboard, whether you did it on paper or you kind of transcribed an audio version of it. I want you to start to look at and highlight some key moments that are within that. What are moments that you almost forgot, but that are actually critical to your story? Start to highlight those. And then also take a step back and review, okay, are these aligned to these pillars and this goal that I have just laid out? Which parts stand out the most? Which parts need tightening? Which parts do I need to go deeper in? And now you can kind of create version 2 of this storyboard now that you have these pillars and this larger goal at hand. And here's what you should end up with is this founder voice strategy aligned with your goals and pillars. I give you kind of a 1 through 5 easy like metric here, but here's what you're doing. 1 core visibility goal. This is where you want to go with your story. This is the way that you want it to look, unlocking the most momentum. 2 key metrics for success. How do you know that you've achieved that goal? Is it audience growth? Is it people leaving with a deep understanding of who you are and what you do? What are those 2 metrics for success? 3 key stakeholder groups that you'll focus on targeting and shaping your message around. Ultimately, some people have 6 stakeholder groups. I want you to start with 3 and get really clear on those 3. And in the next phase, you're going to get really great at testing those spaces. 4 core founder pillars. This is that unwavering belief in yourself and your work. Like these are things that show up in every space. Everyone knows this about you. You're bringing this to stage every time. Like, what are those core foundational pillars? And then the last one is looking back at that storyboard. And I want you to select 5 key moments that align with your goals, pillars, and that you can tell time and time again. You may shape some of those, like, part 1, key moment 1, you may really tell to your community. Key moment 2, you may always tell to investors. But the more that you get clear on it, you know when to tap in, tap out, tap in, tap out, because it's laid out. Now you can take this piece of your story off the shelf really easily because you have seen it laid out in front of you. So the key piece here of strategy, if it hasn't come through yet, is really deep clarity. And I have found that in working with founders, that is the piece that holds them from telling or attempting to tell somebody else's story versus telling their own, is deep clarity in which parts of your story you can tap into, which parts you can take off the shelf that are actually going to create traction for you versus just kind of starting with, I always loved doing this in fourth grade. Like we don't always have to start at the beginning. Drop us right in the middle of the story. Do it with purpose. Do it with like an unwavering sense of why you do this work and ensure that it always works toward that goal. So take some time to go through this, look through all your documents, and really dig into designing that strategy for yourself. People buy what they understand the fastest. Again, first of all, if you haven't read Donald Miller's work, it's incredible. Really supports you again with like that storytelling, story mapping. If people are not clear on what it is you're telling and why, what it is you're selling and why, they're not gonna be motivated to be a part of that movement. If they are clear, you are opening the door for them to enter onto this journey with you. The part that sets founders apart, or the piece that sets founders apart, is deep clarity in that. You have to be super clear. And if you are clear, it supports others to be clear. So I'll leave you with that. I will see you in the last and final module. Thank you so much.